Hello, everybody, and welcome to Short Pit, a NASCAR podcast. I'm your host, Kaleb and Chesney. Alongside me, as usual, my co-host, Chris Prince. Chris, how are you?
Pretty good, sir. How about yourself?
Just peachy. Alongside of us, we have Cam and BR as usual, and we're coming at you right after the Cookout 400 down in Martinsville. I don't want to call the race a snooze fest or anything like that, but it was certainly probably the most underwhelming so far of the year. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the shit show that was the Xfinity race the night prior. I think that'll take the bulk of the conversation today. Me and Chris have some apologies to give out, and then we'll get right into what's coming at Darlington, whether that's paint schemes, the race at hand, etc., etc. So let's just start it off with the Xfinity race on Saturday night. Sammy Smith absolutely just it wasn't just him. It was a lot of a mess on that final run, that final restart in overtime. You go ahead and you see Austin Hill get the win. Sheldon Creed backs into a second place finish as usual. But yeah, whoever raises their hand first gets to go with this first.
I'll go.
Anybody? Chris,
All right, Chris, go ahead. Chris, go ahead.
student of the week. Yeah, let's dive into this Xfinity Series race. What's the deal?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can really, and I'm sure Cam and BR will say the same thing. I don't know that you can add much more than Tony Hirschman said. I think Cam posted it in the thing. I mean, it was a stupid move. He drove in 3 car lengths back, cleaned him out, and then gave the win to another driver. I mean, and then not only that, he didn't finish second, so it's not like he got a great win. He finished 10th with a bunch of torn up race cars and a whole bunch of people, literally roasting his ass for the move. So it was a horrible move. They don't respect anybody in that series. At least a majority of them don't. Like, they don't race with respect, I feel like. But respect, kind of like I feel like Clint said it, respect is from person to person, right? Everybody looks at it a little different, how you respect someone. But yeah, I think that's the biggest problem. Just no respect. Those guys, like, they're just aggressive. They want to win because they're trying to make a name for themselves, but they're not doing it the right way.
No, for sure. Cam, what's your take on this whole thing? Obviously Denny Hamlin was not shy of words on Twitter during, and he wasn't shy on his podcast. All the podcasts have been ripping that entire series, never mind just Sammy Smith.
I mean, yeah, it's a microcosm of everything that everybody hates about stock car racing at the moment. Because you get to the Xfinity Series where you get a bunch of guys, a lot of them who don't have a lot of experience in those cars because they get immediately sent straight up the Xfinity Series because of money, name, whatever. And you get on a place like Martinsville where it's hard to pass, and then add on the fact that points don't matter anymore. It's all about, can you win a race? And you get to the end there, and that's what happened. Austin Dillon did the same thing in the Cup Series. This isn't exclusive to the Xfinity Series. The Truck Series, I don't know who took all those drivers out behind like the barn and threatened them, but they've been fine the last like 20 races. They haven't had an overtime finish in a while, but they were having the same problem. It's the same thing, and the only 2 ways you can fix it. It's either A, you get rid of the winning your incentive. They're not going to. So since they're not going to do that, you have to police it. There's nothing else you can do. You have to make it where if those guys do that, there's no benefit to be reaped. And I hate that the series that we've gotten to that point, because it's one thing that's always been unique to stock cars as comparison to other motorsports is that, it polices itself. And, sometimes you'd lay the bumper down, and, that's some of, the best scenes we see in a lot of races. But because of the way it's gotten to, they're going to have to police it in some way. You can't come from 3-4 car lengths back, clear a guy out in the last corner in a short track and go, that's just short track racing. That's not how that's not racing. That's just bumper cars.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure too. I saw something about SMT. Sammy Smith was full throttle. Like, no, like, there's no denying it. He can't be like, and he didn't either, right? He was like, I'm not finishing second, and basically told freaking Taylor Gray, if they want to fight, he'll fight. He's down to fight. Let's fight in their post race little skirmish that he had. So yeah, I mean, 3 car lengths back. There's no way. Like, it's different if you go into the turn, right, and you lay the bumper to someone to get him up out of the groove. But bro just straight up drove through him. Like, there was no way around that.
And there was no benefit either. His hood popped up. He wrecked.
But that's the thing. Even finishing second doesn't do anything for anybody anymore.
Nope.
In an actual serious point system, finishing second's a great day. But now no one remembers finishing second. It doesn't help you unless you're gonna be the guy who wins the regular season championship. It means nothing. Where he finishes 10th. He doesn't care. It 10th and second's the same to him. He's in junior motorsports equipment. All he cares about is winning.
So my question to the group, and I guess I'll kick it off with BR with this question because I feel like a lot of the general takes have been provided. So BR, I'm just going to shoot this question right at you. How do you police it? How do you make a change? Do you tell security, hey, don't touch anybody until they're on the ground, let them fight it out like it's hockey? Do you impose a penalty for unnecessary contact? You have something along those lines? Do you have an idea?
I mean, there's a couple things you could do. One option would be for hypothetically, Sammy Smith had done that late in August and ended up winning. You could have done what they did with Dylan and Cup last year, where you're just like, okay, yeah, you don't make it anymore. That's one way. Another. I mean, I'm all right with an unnecessary contact penalty in theory. I just don't trust them to like accurately deploy it, and I would be very worried that a driver just gets completely, screwed over because they don't know what is and what isn't unnecessary contact. So like, I mean, as a fan, yeah, it'd be cool if, they just start throwing hands, but like someone's going to get hurt and then it's going to become a big shit show. So like, you can't really do that because if someone gets concussed, I'm not totally sure how it is in Xfinity series, but like someone has to miss a race that, that might be, make difference in making the playoffs or not, or whatever. So that you can't just start letting them fighting as much as it'd be fun to watch. But yeah, I mean, the unnecessary contact penalty is probably the easiest way to go about it. I just don't trust this era, of NASCAR race control to handle it properly. So I am a bit hesitant to let it in. Part of me also is like, at some point the drivers need to, I don't want to say have some respect, have some respect for them, the series. And like when stuff like this happens, sometimes you need to wreck somebody to send a message. Like sometimes that's all it'll take to at least calm it down.
Cam, what do you think? What's your idea of how we can police this better or enforce? I don't want to say enforce, but maybe firmly encourage that these drivers race each other with a little more respect and race their equipment with a little more respect.
The thing is, it won't even take. I agree with BR when he says that, like, if this was a long running thing, that the judgment call would a lot of times be very questionable. It won't even take that. Institute a rule saying that if you wreck somebody, it's gonna sound like vague language. Stay with me here. If you wreck somebody for the win, it's a 15-second penalty. In NASCAR, that'll put first one to do it. No one will do it again. Because if all of a sudden they're getting penalized and they're 32nd, they'll stop doing it. Like, that's just a matter of the fact. Because if clearing that guy out is going to put you to where you score about 3 points on the day, that'll be the end of it. And also the difference is not hard to figure out. We have no problem figuring this out on mile and a half tracks and things like that. I know the line's harder on a short track, but there's a difference between sticking the bumper, like Chris says, there's a difference between sticking the bumper and putting somebody out of the groove and spitting someone out. These are all adults. They know the difference between that. I mean, there'll be probably, I'm sure, some judgment calls that probably were a little questionable, but generally, you got to do something about it. And I think somebody's going to have to be made an example of in terms of penalty from NASCAR, and after that, I think you would start to see a change in it, because if they're under threat of that, then I think they'll stop doing it.
Chris, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of with, BR on the fact that I don't trust NASCAR officiating to do that, because, I mean, just they're so inconsistent, or they have been recently, which we've touched on, plenty on this show. But, I mean, Cam makes a good point. Give them something, like put something in writing that's like that. Like, hey, I know this is still a judgment call for officiating maybe, and there's going to be some that go either way, but there's got to be something in place. And I would love to see fights. Don't get me wrong. I'd love to see Tyler Reddick and Ty Gibbs go at it, like that was supposed to happen.
I didn't know you were into little people wrestling, Chris.
Well, you gotta enjoy the show where you can, but
you hit those high school gyms often?
Often, no, no. I mean, it's one of those things where you can't let them fight, because, like BR said, sponsors are in the picture, money's in the picture. You can't let those guys beat the crap out of each other, and then sponsors are gonna be like, well, we're not racing this week. We're pulling our name off your car. So, yeah, I mean, something penalty-wise is going to have to be done.
All right. So anything further with this Xfinity Series fiasco? I think we've gotten our ideas out there on how to fix it. Do we have any remaining opinions, takes that we need to let off? Do we need to rip somebody that we haven't ripped?
I mean, I think another thing I would say is, I've covered like how this is all just a product of the gimmicks of NASCAR, but also just in general. I think Sammy Smith's a generally talented driver, so it doesn't really apply to him in general, but they've got to do a better job of like actually developing drivers and not just sticking drivers in cars because they feel that they make them more money, or they feel that they have this raw talent, whatever. Because it used to be that you had 4 series as kind of a developmental curve, and it just doesn't happen anymore. And that's a lot of the symptom of why this stuff happens is you have guys that they're not in the series long enough to gain that respect that everybody talks about.
Alrighty. Well, that's it for your Xfinity Series recap. We hope we don't have to do this super often, but when things are relevant, we will bring them up. All right. So the race on Sunday. Let's just get it out of the way. Chris, you and I have some formal apologies to make.
Yeah, I mean, Hamlin just had the best car. I did say he wasn't going to win all season, but I wasn't very surprised that it was at Martinsville, or, it would have been a Richmond or something, I feel like. But, I mean, the dude's good at these tracks. He's always been good at these tracks. He just took a 10-year break from winning and, ran consistently. Let some other guys have some fun, I guess. So good for him. We'll see if it continues, if it's the start of something for him. But I'm not sorry,
I'm about to say, I don't hear an apology in there, Chris.
I'm not sorry. I faded all of JGR like 3 years ago on an article, and they went on to win like half the series, races, and it just screwed me. So it's one of those things. We're in the media. You got to make the hot take when you can.
No, right. The only reason I faded him was because his odds were like plus 650. He was in that top 4, and I'm like, yeah, unless he wins, this bet isn't worth it. Well, look at me, shit on my face. He went and won that race. So, yep, take the L. We'll move on. It's not the first time that I've faded the winner. This is actually a pretty frequent happening. So, good for him.
We will ignore the fact that not only did I say Hamlin didn't win, I said no one at JGR other than Bell would win. We will pretend we do not see that.
Yeah, we'll just forget all about it.
But the race on Sunday, Cam, I'll kick it off with you. Any general takeaways from the Paperclip on Sunday?
I mean, I did feel like it was a slight step back from the fall. Why that is, I'm not sure. But it just felt like it was a step back. And maybe it just felt like that because in the fall, the 12 had like a Herculean drive from P9 and like 90 laps. So we all just went, wait, if the tires fall off, this actually can happen. Or maybe it was just him. I don't know. But it felt kind of like a step back. It's still better than it was when this car was first introduced, but it's still not amazing. But I think it's somebody apparently we just have to live with for the moment. I don't think the option tire would necessarily work here because it's only one groove. So I'm not necessarily sure if the option tire would be a solution, and props to Denny. He's got Bristol, Darlington coming up. I mean, if he's found something in that car, that's like giving it to him on a platter.
No, for sure. BR.
Yeah, I mean this was the first real belt to ass performance this season. Like it was that last run, it was not even close. And yeah, I mean it was one of the races of all time. There's usually one or two races where I'm like, okay, that's a thing that happens, and like you forget about most of it in about 6 weeks. Like it was kind of it felt like a filler race, if that makes any sense. It felt like a filler race with Denny figuring it out, and shout out to him. Shout out to Chris Gale, first win as the crew chief for him. So yeah, it was a great performance from him. Entertainment wise, it was one of the races of all time.
Yeah, left a little to be desired on the entertainment factor. Chris.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say any more than basically BR and Cam said. It was an okay race. It wasn't near as good as the fall. I mean, but I think that plays a lot into just the situation NASCAR's built for that fall race too. But also, I mean, like I think the thing that I took away is the tires definitely they didn't fall off quite as much maybe as someone wanted them to, or some people wanted them to. But I think we're getting close. They're getting better with the tire compounds they're experimenting with, because I haven't seen like that type of wear. It feels like the rubber up the side of the cars like that in a little while at a short track like that. And I could be wrong, but it is better than the way we started on short tracks with the next gen cars. So maybe we're heading in the right direction finally. That's my takeaway from Martinsville.
Yep. Yeah, I have no further thoughts than that. It was just kind of one of those days, pretty straightforward. The best car made it their way to the front. My guy was all the way in the back. So that wasn't the most fun, but good to see Denny, one of the best racers, go get that win, reestablish himself. I like to see the good drivers up front and winning. And that'll be that. So I think it's about time we hand out our awards of the week, our drivers of the week, our terrorists of the week. I'll start it off since I'm just talking. My driver of the week pick we're going down to the truck series for this one. I'm giving it to Daniel Hemrick for doing the backflip. I thought that was freaking sweet. And shout out to the truck race for being like the least shit show of the two development series, and putting on a pretty solid race as well. So give me Daniel Hemrick in the backflip. Cam, I'll go to you.
I'll give it to Ryan Preece. I know I've given it to him before, but this is the type of racetrack he runs well at. But he just seemed like he was just straight up faster than both his teammates the whole day. Finished P7, I think.
Yes.
Starting
21st, finished P7.
I almost gave it to Denny, but Denny doesn't need any more iteration.
Yeah, I gotta keep him humble. BR.
I gotta give my guys to Bubba Wallace, back-to-back weeks, top 3 finish. Other than maybe winning the last 2 weeks, pardon me, about as good of a start for Bubba as I could have realistically hoped for. It's really nice to see, really encouraging too, and multiple weeks in a row where the car looks just straight up fast, and it's a great sign for the season. And so yeah, I'll give it to Bubba.
First time in his career back-to-back top 3s.
Pretty good.
Very good. Chris.
Yeah, I was going to go with Bubba too, but we'll let BR keep his driver. I'm actually going to go with mine. He was my backup. Second most led laps behind Hamlin. Had a fast car, showed speed, and he didn't hang out around 10th to 15th this week like I feel like he's been doing. So it was kind of refreshing to see him up and leading and, around the top 5, top 10. So I'm going to go with Chase this week.
Finished P4 behind the Toyotas, collected a P7 and a P2 finish in the stages. He had the second highest driver rating of the day, according to driver averages, right behind Denny Hamlin. Not right behind. It was quite a difference. Denny was crushing the field. All right. Our terrorists of the week. I'll go ahead and give the obvious. I'm just giving it to the Xfinity series. You guys need to figure your shit out as we established earlier. And with that, I'll go right back to you, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, we might as well go to unanimously because I was going to go Sammy Smith, but honestly, yeah, the Xfinity series has got some stuff to figure out for sure. So,
BR.
Yeah, like Chris said, I was gonna say Sammy Smith, but since we're 2 for 2, yeah, I'll say Xfinity series as a whole. Get your
Cam,
shit.
are we going with a clean sweep?
Yeah, I mean, again, I was just gonna individually say Sammy Smith, but like it's the same thing.
Shout out to the NASCAR Xfinity Series. You are our second unanimous terrorist of the week. That deserves a round of applause.
woo!
Second time only. You guys are really special down there, for sure. I do not have any round of applause. Background sound. I'll be sure to add that for future references. But shout out to the Xfinity Series. You guys are crushing it, and not in a good way. You're actually crushing your vehicles. All right. We had a segment planned out for this week. This week in particular, it's a lot of specialty with Darlington, the first race. It's called Throwback Weekend for a reason. We get a lot of paint schemes that come up with some really awesome designs, concepts, a lot of nostalgia for a lot of the older race fans, a lot of the guys who've been following the races for a long, long time. Some of them are great. Some of them aren't so great. I think we should save the good part for after this, but Chase Elliott and UniFirst. Chris, that's your boy. You gotta tell the tale.
That. There's no defending that. The car don't look nothing like. I mean, yeah, the colors are remotely close, maybe a little, but I mean, the car doesn't look remotely like I would want it to as a fan. They didn't even change the number font. They could have done something there to make it look somewhat, throwbackish, but it just looks like a modern UniFirst scheme. And if you would have told me, hey, this is just going to be a new UniFirst scheme, I would have been like, okay, it's not so bad. But the fact that you're trying to compare it to that, no, it's horrible. It's probably the worst one I've seen Chase run, honestly.
Cam, BR, anything to add?
Just low effort. I mean, Hendrick's usually, the ones that throw out all the bangers. And even UniFirst. UniFirst is responsible for that National Guard scheme.
Yep.
Like, I don't know what happened there because you would think it'd be the sponsor just vetoing a bunch of stuff and they just was too late to change it, but that's not what they've done in the past. So I don't know what happened there.
It almost looks like they had someone who is like slightly colorblind make the scheme.
Yeah.
No disrespect to anyone who's colorblind.
And you know what? Just for the people at home, I'll share the screen just so everybody has an idea of what we're talking about.
Also, try and get the one it's trying to compare to as well.
Yeah, 1994 Ken Schrader.
I'm pretty sure I could actually, despite how terrible it is, I do believe I can make that in Heat 5.
There we go.
Because UniFirst is a sponsor in Heat 5. I'm pretty sure I can make that Heat 5.
Okay, this is just horrible. There we go. Close enough. Okay, well. Oh well.
Horrible.
It's
the
tough.
worst scheme award unanimously, right, guys? We're gonna go ahead and give it.
I mean,
I heard there was another one, but I don't know which one everybody's talking about. What's the other bad one?
I'm not. I mean, the one I personally didn't like. The other one I personally didn't like really was the John Hunter Nemechek, but like even. Pardon me. Even then, it was nowhere near, not even in the same solar system as.
I'm okay with the 42. It
was underwhelming, not bad. And
I don't like that the numbers are unaligned, so I might just not like the throwback of it all.
I assume Joe. This is probably a very casual question. I assume Joe Nemechek is his dad.
Yeah.
So like. Honoring your dad, okay, cool, whatever, go for it. That one, the Chase, I don't know what they were cooking with that one. Shut down the kitchen because they are not.
If only Chase Elliott had a spine, we might we might be able to.
I honestly hate even more when teams just don't do throwbacks. Like, do you suck? Like, well, what is your
Do you
feeling?
hate fun? Yeah.
The only one that gets an excuse is the one car because that Bush Light fishing scheme is badass. That's the only person that gets an excuse. I'll let you slide on that one.
All right. Well, in preparation to this weekend, we each compiled the top 5 paint schemes that we loved. I'll just go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off. My top 5 went the 4018, that all black Jimmy Johnson paint scheme. Love it. Looks fresh, looks clean. The second one being the William Byron 24, shouting out Jeff Gordon's last race with the silver and the flames. Love that look. Denny Hamlin and his throwback to Carl Edwards. I thought that came out really nice. I chose the 4-car, bringing it back to Dale Jr.'s debut. I thought that came out really nice as well. And we're throwing it down the Xfinity Series, the damn near unanimous terrorist of the week, Sammy Smith. I thought his came out really good as well. I'm also a big 3 doors down guy. So I thought that came out really, really well. Just flew through that. I don't have a ton of nostalgia as these guys do. I've been a fan for a whole 2 years, but figured it'd be easy to get mine out of the way. Chris, you're the old timer. You're the resident grandpa of this podcast. You have the most nostalgia out of any of us. Why don't you bring out your list?
Yeah, I'm gonna.
As I call you old in like 3 times in one sentence.
It'll be okay. I mean, I'm used to it. It doesn't hurt my feelings any. Went with William Byron. I've got some similar ones on there. That 24 silver with the flames. That's my number 1. Number 2, I went with Larson. I love the Kellogg's cars. I love last year's Kellogg's car, and I love this one. And then I went 3. I actually went with Blaney because I like his throwback. I just like the color scheme, the numbers, all of it. I think they really did a good job considering they could have done a generic Menard scheme and just completely ruined it. And then I actually have 2 Xfinity drivers. Sorry, I love Alex's car, but I wasn't a Jimmy fan back then. I hated seeing him win everything, so he's not on my top 5. I actually went with Dean Thompson's 26 car to throw back to Jamie McMurray. The Irwin Tools with the purple and flames. I loved that car when I was a kid. I just liked the purple with the yellow. And then the number 18 Rowdy Noss scheme.
I like that too. That was on my short list.
Yep, I put that one on there. And then my honorable mention, I put the 44 for the Looney Tunes car, the Jeff Gordon throwback, because they actually, if you look at that car, all of the little like associate sponsors are styled like Jeff's was, like the Pepsi, all that. They're styled similar to that. They put like a ton of detail in that car.
I got it right here. I will share with the class. Share screen, Darlington. There we go.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, BR, it's your turn.
Number 1, for me, it was Larson. I love the Kellogg's car. The got cars on the side was a really fun touch. Number 2, I'm gonna go with Josh Berry, the Indianapolis 500. I love the color scheme. I love the old number font. So that's number 2. Number 3, Cindric, with the Dale throwback, and such. It's a nice looking car. And then you got Logano with it. I love the old Pennzoil logo. I think that's fun. And then number 5, Byron, for the reasons Chris and Caleb mentioned.
All right, Cam, your turn.
Well, my first 2 they are great schemes anyway, but they're just straight up a nostalgia trip for me because I was a Jimmy and Carl. I like big fans of Jimmy and Carl when I was a kid, and they're my 2 favorite schemes they ever ran. So Bowman's 48's at 1, Denny's Carl Edwards throwback is 2. That puts Larson at 3 for me. That Tiger scheme is just so well done, and I really don't think another team on the grid could actually have pulled it off like they did with that. And of course, the 5 is the same number and all that. And then after that, I have Josh Berry's 21 scheme, throwing back to Jim Clark's 1965 Indianapolis 500. I just think it's a really unique idea because I guess the Wood brothers pitted that car I'm an open wheel guy too, so I think that's a lot of fun. And then my fifth one is Austin Cindric's. That's just a really nice looking car. My fifth one is Austin Cindric's number 2. It's one of my favorite classic paint schemes. I don't know if anyone saw my arm move, but like it looks just like it. And then I hate to leave it off. I only left the 24 off just because we get a Jeff Gordon scheme every year. It's kind of low hanging fruit. I'm not trying to shit on it. It's amazing. It's just I had to make room for other people.
And we might as well bring this one up as well.
It's so clean.
They did a really good job with that.
Show the Sammy Smith one.
The Sammy Smith one. There we go.
They did good with that one. That one was that was a short list for me too. I like that car.
Yeah, I almost put that at number 5 admittedly over Byron.
Let's hope this one doesn't get destroyed, but in all honesty, it probably will. Alrighty, friends. Got that out of the way. That was your little fun paint scheme segment. Glad you got to see some of the visuals there. It's time for our weekly DraftKings segment. We're going to go ahead, look at these driver props, and see if we can make you some money better than me and Chris ever do, because we just suck. First things first, the matchups at Darlington. First matchup they have listed is Kyle Larson versus Tyler Reddick.
I mean, I'm going to take Larson. I mean, Reddick's just not shown speed yet this year, I feel.
No, he's left a lot to be desired, I think.
He wasn't even that great at Homestead. Like, I don't know. I don't know what's going on
He
with
was
that.
average, but I'm actually I don't know. I'm going to go with Reddick on this. I don't know why. Why not? I mean, Larson's probably going to be is Larson the favorite or is Denny the favorite?
It's got to be.
The overall favorite is Kyle Larson at plus 450. The next closest is Tyler Reddick at plus 650.
Ah, so both your favorites there. Yeah, I'm going to go with Reddick just for shits and giggles at this point.
Yeah, I'll go Larson too.
Reddick actually has 2 top 5s and another top 10. P2 at Daytona, P3 at Coda, and P8 at Homestead. But he's only led 42 laps this year. So
it just feels like there's like a little missing. It's not that he's slow. It just feels like there's just
there's a little bit to be desired. Chase Elliott versus the red hot Bubba Wallace.
Bubba's really good here. Bubba's really good here. It's a new thing, but he is good here. And it's not a perfect match for match comparison, but usually if your car's good at Homestead, it's good here. So I'll go with Bubba.
Bubba's only finish outside of the top 10 was the fall race here. Only finished outside of the top 10 since spring of 2022 was the fall race here last year, but he still finished P2 and P9 in the stages, and he won the pole.
He's really good here.
Yeah, he's good here. I'd like to see Chase win, but I don't want to see that scheme in victory lane. So I'm just gonna go with I'm gonna go with Bubba.
Picking against your guy.
That would be an incredible shitpost though. Like incredible shitpost.
Chase Elliott, P11, P12, P8, P3 since the spring of 2023. So I'll take Bubba as well. I'll ride the hot hand. Denny Hamlin versus William Byron.
Ooh.
I'm going to take Hamlin just because he's riding momentum.
I'm going to take Hamlin, but this type of race, the 24 just appears at the end.
Yeah.
How many laps do you guys think that Denny Hamlin has led at Darlington over the course of his career?
An ungodly amount.
Yeah. I don't
want to throw out a number.
Oh, my God. Probably. I feel like, I don't know why you're asking the question. It might be lower or higher than I think. I'm thinking like at least 600 or 700.
Okay, Chris?
Might more than that.
I'm gonna go high and just say like 2,500. He's been in the series a while. Raced at
2,500 is a lot, Chris. It is actually an even 1,000.
What would you say?
It's an even 1,000. 1,000.
Yeah,
not surprised.
I wasn't be surprised if it was higher than that. It's just one of these races for the longest time we're always 500, or they're always 400 or 500 miles, and on that track it's like almost 300 laps. And usually when you're good at this place, you just lead the whole race.
What's the next matchup? I'll take Byron because I feel like he's due. But I said that last year, like for like 2 months. Like, oh yeah, he's due for a win.
I will say he's already backed into a race at this racetrack before, so he
No
might
way.
not be able to do it twice.
Right, that's totally fair and true. Up next, Ty Gibbs versus Kyle Busch. Ty Gibbs finally put together a half decent day, finished P13 at Martinsville, and Kyle Busch just kind of feels like he's heading in the wrong direction the last couple weeks.
It's hard to pick this one without practice.
2 cheeks of the same ass.
Yeah.
Well, I'll go with Kyle just because Gibbs can't seem to not wreck or be 30th. So, but
Give me Kyle too.
Sure, why not, Kyle?
Yeah, why not? All right, Joey Logano versus Ross Chastain.
that's tough.
I'm taking Ross.
Chastain's good here, but so is Logano. Logano's good here, and Penske's not even fast a lot of the time.
I think they said it best last week though. Something happens to Logano and he never seems to be able to grab a good finish. So I'm gonna go with Ross just for that.
Finally got a top 10 this week.
And unfortunately, folks, we do not have any group matchups, at least yet. Maybe they'll come out the second we're done here.
Probably that'd be a.
But let's go ahead and just give our picks for the weekend. Cam, I'll start with you.
I want to pick Larson, but he weirdly finds a way to not win at this racetrack. I know he's got the one, but he likes to find a way to not win at this racetrack. So I'll go away from him, and I'll just, you know what? Let's roll with it. Let's roll with Chase Briscoe.
Briscoe, last fall's winner.
Solid pick.
BR.
I'm gonna take William Byron. This feels like a race he finds. He's the best on the series of just finding a way to win when you probably don't fully deserve it. And I just got a feeling that's coming again this week.
Can I amend my pick? I forgot someone existed. Just
Okay.
real quick. I'm gonna actually pick Bubba Wallace.
Damn it!
I thought about it. I won't lie.
Chris?
I'm actually gonna go with Reddick here. I looked at his stats. 11 career races. He's only got 3 finishes outside the top 20. Led a little over 275 laps here in his career. So I'm just gonna go with it this week. He needs a win. Why not grab it here where he's gonna ride up against the fence if he doesn't just absolutely wreck his car?
Ugh. You know what? I'm going to go for it. Chris Buescher.
If they have speed, he can do it. It's a big if.
Plus 2,200 for Chris Buescher to win.
Does Ryan Preece continue his top 10 streak this week?
Seems like a tough track for him to do it at. It's not really his style.
It unfortunately won't let me see the odds on betting Ryan Preece top 10, but betting him to win is plus 5,500. So you can assume that's going to be plus money to get him on the top 10.
I bet he gets top 10. I don't know. I think he might watch him walk his way into a win before Buescher. Could you see that honestly with just how he's running?
In general, yeah, just not this week.
No, not this week. No. If Buescher doesn't win this week, though, going forward, I can see Preece.
They could do it hell. I got caught on this the last time, forgetting that there's not 2 Richmond races. But I don't know, like a Gateway or something.
Dude, I feel like he came out of nowhere. Where did he qualify, Caleb? Do you still have it pulled up?
Where did he not qualify well? It was 20 or 21st.
I was
Yeah,
going to
21st.
say, I don't think he qualified real well, but at the end of the
And
race,
he finished the first stage P6 for what it's worth.
Just came up and drove through the field. It seemed like his car was working for him.
He was a walking top 10 at that racetrack in the 41. So
yeah,
he led a ton of laps there in the 41, and then got a speeding penalty or something, and never recovered.
Well, I'm looking. Ryan Preece's numbers at Darlington specifically. He's never finished inside the top 10. He was P12 here last fall, P17 in the spring, P28 in the fall of 23, P15 in the spring of 23. So you can generally expect him to be around the top 15. Hasn't quite hit top 10 yet.
He's also been in shit boxes, so we'll see.
It's very true.
Yeah.
But yeah, Darlington this weekend. Any final thoughts about the race before we give our closing spiel?
I mean, I'm excited. It's like the one racetrack left on the schedule that still eats the tires.
Indeed.
That's what I was going to say. You took the words out of my mouth. I like it because it eats the tires. You're going to see slipping, sliding. I hope it's a good race, honestly. I hope it's not a snooze fest, but, we'll see. It's the Southern 500, so maybe there'll be some aggressive moves too late just to get that trophy to spice things up.
The Southern 500 is the second.
Is it the second one? I thought they moved it up last year.
No.
I could be wrong.
They moved it up in the sense of it wasn't a playoff race. It was the race before.
Okay. That's what I'm getting mixed up. Gotcha.
It is the Goodyear 400 this weekend.
But don't get it wrong. They'll still do it. They'll still.
Yeah, it's Darlington. Right. This is a good race. I enjoy Darlington, so I think we'll hopefully have something good to talk about next week.
Yeah, I think we're in for a good time, and hopefully we don't have to shit on the Xfinity series again, because there's nothing I hate more than repeating topics. Chris, what do you got coming this week? I know we missed your podcast last weekend. Is that coming back?
Yeah, that'll be back tomorrow. We're recording tonight. It was spring break, so the kids were home all week, and we took a week off. So didn't announce it. Then we got the power rankings. I've actually got those typed out. Just got to post them, so those should be up maybe tomorrow evening if I can work doesn't kill me. And then our picks piece later on in the week, of course.
Very good. Cam BR, anything to say to the fine people at home?
No.
Awesome. Thank you all for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. Make sure you follow the show on Facebook and Twitter. Make sure you follow me and Chris on Twitter. You can see our little tags right there, right below our names. Okay. And we'll be back next week after Darlington. Looking forward to it. Have a great weekend, and see you next Wednesday.